Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I'm Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are here to review episode 3 of Moon Knight. Crazy, wacky show, it's only getting crazier, but before we do that, I want to let you guys know that you can listen to this review on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts simply by clicking our podcast link. That's nerdsoupodcast.buzzsprout.com, and you can find all the places where our podcasts are published. All right, let's get into the review. Aaron, what did you think about this episode 3?
I like this episode, and I feel like I've really enjoyed these first 3 as a whole. I think the takeaway so far for me has been just Oscar Isaac and his performance. Still don't know if it's a good English accent because of my dumb American ears, but for me it works. And the way he's able to switch in between the two characters, I think I've really enjoyed. And I think the performances have been the strongest part. Look at Ethan Hawke as the adversary, and I think it had some good action sequences. I'm still trying to fully immerse myself into this world and everything like that, but I think so far it's been pretty solid, and I am looking forward to the next 3 and seeing how it all unravels. But I think as an introduction, we're finally getting to know this character, but at the same time, we have no idea what's going on with this character because he's just so unstable, and that adds just a level of intrigue while watching the show, and seeing all that play out so far has been really interesting.
Yeah, and they added a new layer to that, right? I guess the biggest takeaway from this episode was that Mark and Steven, there's another personality taking over the body, so they're unaware of that. And obviously, when you read about his Wikipedia page, there have been multiple personalities, multiple in the comics. But a lot of fans have a good idea of who it is. But I think that was interesting because it just hits you out of nowhere. I complained about the editing, that they were making it too obvious when they were switching. But when you throw in that there's a personality beside the 3 that we've already seen, that's cool. Mm-hmm. And that's something that they didn't, they showed us that, but they didn't give us an answer in this episode. So I keep hearing episode 4 has a crazy cliffhanger, and I wonder if that mystery personality has something to do with it.
Yeah, I think he's probably the more brutal one I've read.
Yeah, maybe he was the one that was killing people in that first episode.
Dude, because I was confused, because every time they would have those shifts and cut out, he would leave bodies just gushing, blood everywhere and whatnot. But when you see him fight Mark, and when he's actually Mark, and you actually get to see the fight, no blood. I was like, oh, so only when he spazzes out, maybe that's when he's more violent, or they just didn't want to show that on Disney Plus. But maybe this other character is taking over, and he's just brutal, and he's the one that's dismembering these poor folks. Well, not poor, they're trying to kill people, but
no, they're definitely part of a cult.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was Mark trying to kind of hold himself back from those violent methods for Steven's sake.
Yeah. Because
Steven was so startled by it. But now, yeah, when you look back on episode 1, you can imagine that's the mysterious personality there, the unknown guy.
Steven annoys me. I like him, but let Mark do his thing.
Yeah, he's definitely a backseat driver. But sometimes you got to let the mercenary, like you said, do his thing.
Yeah. But
or else you're going to fucking die. Like when he changed in the middle of the fight and got himself impaled. Even though that suit, I like the Mr. Knight suit better. Still, the Moon Knight suit itself, it just feels too fake. Even the action, to me, it's not that interesting to look at or fun. I much prefer Moon Knight when he's just Mark Spector at this point. Like when he was running across the rooftops in the beginning of the episode trying to find it. I thought that was more interesting to me. Even that fight, because he was, it felt like he was holding back a bit.
Yeah. Trying
not to kill anybody, but still, he's a great fighter.
And I think the biggest, complaint I have so far, and it, doesn't really ruin the show for me by any means, but the effects aren't that great. Very noticeable. To the point where
they're really starting to stand out.
Yeah.
Even at times, Egypt, the setting of Egypt looked really pretty. I think bringing it to the modern day, because I think Hollywood for so long has always kept Egypt in 1300 BC. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. But there are times where the green screens are just standing out, mm-hmm. where that's not Egypt anymore. That's just a screen.
And usually with Marvel, it's when you watch one of the films, you don't really notice it while you're watching. It's when people bring up screenshots and point it out after the fact. You're like, okay, now I notice it. Thanks for ruining that scene for me. This is while you're watching it, it's just sticking out. And I think
I think it's also more noticeable in this because it's just not the same budget.
Yeah.
When people keep saying that this should have been a movie, those things are going to look better when you have a film budget. There's still going to be instances. I think whenever you use green screen, you can always freeze it and find something that's going to look fake. Mm-hmm. But for this, there are sequences of frames that are looking fake. It's not like you have to pause it and it looks a little funky. It's just entire movements.
Right.
And like, but I don't even know if you can consider it a nitpick at this point, because I think
it is very apparent. And I think the worst part of it is Khonshu is, he doesn't look good at all, and he's such a major part of the series. That's the person, basically the puppet master to Marc, and like he shows up in his thoughts and he's very, very much there. And when that doesn't really look too good, then that kind of takes away some of the moments. But
yeah, and Khonshu is such a dick. He's got such a vibe to him where I can understand why the gods don't like him. And he's got that swagger to him where he's acting cool in our world, even though he's a nerd in his world. So he's just acting like he's so tough and so powerful and just bullying all these poor human beings who are just trying to live their normal lives. I mean, poor Mark Spector. But they drew so many, some parallels between them, that they are both kind of broken individuals that nobody really seems to trust. And they've got unresolved issues, obviously. I once again, I felt so bad for Mark Spector in that the court scene. Mm-hmm. When they bring in Arthur Harrow and he says, he doesn't even know his real name. It's like, fuck, he's really lost, man.
Yeah.
He just needs to sit down with the doctor.
Unreliable witness.
No, yeah. It's, Neon Genesis Evangelion. This guy's trying to save the world. He really just needs therapy. Mm-hmm.
Men will let a god use them as an avatar before they go to therapy.
It was cool to see the other avatars as well. Obviously, the one that Khonshu was friendly with. It's always an extremely attractive woman.
Yeah,
that's friendly with the wacky character who's ostracized by everybody else. Khonshu, obviously, at the end, he sacrifices himself, and I felt bad for him. Being turned into a statue. It's kind of disturbing to think about. Being turned to stone. Yeah. Possibly forever.
No, I think I would rather like just a plain old jail cell, but especially when you can hear things too, that's got to be hell.
Yeah, it's like when Annie was stuck in the Titan.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or, well, Han Solo couldn't hear, but, carbonite.
Yeah, that seems a little bit like heaven. That just feels like
death.
A
nap.
Yeah. The big sleep. Leia, God damn it. I was free.
Yeah, but it was interesting getting into the other gods and seeing how they work, how they don't really interfere with the matters of men, and how they view humanity, where Khonshu kind of, I guess, as much of a dick that he is, he's still trying to help in his own ways. And, I think the moral conflict between Khonshu and Arthur and Amit, it's an interesting, dilemma to wrap your brain around. When do you wait till after the fact to bring justice? Do you do it before anything bad can happen? Or is this not anyone's place at all to bring this justice to humanity?
Yeah, but this is something that they keep going back to, so I have a feeling I know how it's going to be resolved. I don't think Amet's going to be released onto the world. I don't think that she's going to kill how many people she's planning to kill. Literal, probably billions, right, at this point. Yeah. When you have to decipher between good and evil. Even though I'm really enjoying Ethan Hawke's performance.
Yes, I think he's doing an excellent job.
Right, I said this previously, that the whole vibe of the character is great, but I think even in this episode, it's becoming repetitive, almost, where the only thing that I'm really interested in at this point is the character of Marc.
Yes.
So Oscar Isaac, I don't want to say he's carrying the show, but if it wasn't him putting on this sort of masterclass performance over these first 3 episodes, I don't know where I hold this show. Mm-hmm. Because I did enjoy this episode. I think maybe it was my least favorite of the 3 so far. Like I said, I don't think that Amet's going to be released. I don't think that Ethan Hawke doesn't want to stick around to be a villain going forward in the MCU. They're going to fucking kill this guy. We have to wait for that cliffhanger. Yeah. Because that could be a game changer.
And I think there's more to Layla than meets the eye. Because we got that little scene with presumably her mother, who forged her the passport documents and things.
I always wanted to be a person like that.
The forger?
The forger. Just great skills. They can't tell the difference.
It's a risky business.
I know, but I'm a master. People say that about me,
Yeah. With some of the history between her and Marc and what they bring up during conversations, I guess Marc is the baseline, right, at this point? Or who knows, actually, but that's what I've been
I mean, when you go back to the history of the comics, it is Marc.
And like in their relationship, and like I guess her realization now that she's embraced or realizes that he does have two personalities, and Steven's there and trying to bring Steven out. Like I think their relationship's been fine, but I do think there is something more with that character, because I don't think she's going to be just your stereotypical just sidekick and just go through this journey with Mark, and then at the end everything's hunky dory, and they get back together and whatnot.
Right, and she also she had the association with that individual where they get the map from.
Yes.
So she's obviously got a past life where she was running around with Mark Spector, the mercenary, and like she said, she was stealing some artifacts, returning them, and then keeping some on the side. So she's a shady person as well. Khonshu says that would be my next choice if you fail. So there's definitely going to be more to that character. And I think that there's still more to the story overall, that everything we're seeing can still be fake. Everything that Khonshu is saying, everything that the gods are supposedly doing, I don't know at this point how much you can believe it. But I really like the Egyptian setting. And I like the idea, obviously Marvel has done this with the Norse gods and other gods as well, but bringing the Egyptian gods to a superhero universe, I think that aspect has been handled well so far, even if the CGI of Khonshu isn't so great. The voice is intimidating. Him being such a shady character is also very interesting because you don't know how far he's going to push Mark.
Yeah.
It was funny when Steven was like, stop listening to that crazy bird. Yeah, he's just a big-ass bird with a big-ass beak.
He looks like one of those plague doctors.
You know what I did like about their relationship, though, is that Layla is understanding that Steven is real, basically. He is a real person, and that she needs to be more sympathetic and a bit nicer to him.
She was eyeing him down, too. Is that cheating?
No.
It's still Oscar Isaac.
It's a nice love triangle.
I guess so.
Might be a love square, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think she's going to like the new guy. He seems a little intense.
Hey, man, chicks dig that, honestly.
Or you mean Khonshu?
No, not Khonshu.
Okay.
Khonshu's got his own thing brewing. If this show resolves with Khonshu and all the other gods just fighting against a Met in a big CGI clusterfuck, I'm going to be so disappointed.
It's going to look terrible. Unless they're saving all of their money and effort for that, and it looks like better. But
if they're doing that, it's a character that we have to. I mean, we still have to wait to see how it finishes, but it's a character that doesn't need that. It's not really necessary in his story.
No, I think we always talk about with a lot of these movies that we like when the third act or the climax conclusion is more of a personal, it's more personal to the character. And I think this character more than any other character deserves that or needs it. But I do think it's going to have that conclusion where you really don't know what's going on, or if any of what happened is real, or how much is in his head, or who Mark Spector is. So, and I think that's like an interesting little aspect for the show and unique to this character more so than a lot of the MCU characters.
Yeah, that's what's really keeping me invested in the show, because people keep saying, oh, it's so different from the rest of the MCU. It feels like an MCU product through and through. The humor is there, and I think even at times in this episode is when the humor was sticking out for me in the wrong way.
I think sometimes they use Steven as a little bit of a bit sometimes.
Right, and Steven, because he was the focal point in the first two episodes, I didn't really mind it because that was just who he was. His whole character was very nervous and skittish and clumsy, but also sweet. And I think some of the moments here that he got with Layla, where he's able to decipher the map and find Amet's tomb, those were cool moments, because that is kind of part of Mark's character as well, that he has all this knowledge about Egypt. It's just locked away with Steven. Once again, that continues to be the standout of the show. And like I said, the mysterious personality here that's jockeying for control. But I wonder if, Hathor is going to be an ally in this show moving forward. What's her role going to be in this story now that Khonshu has been locked away? Yeah,
she seems to be the only person that believes him, and I don't know where Mark is able to draw his power from anymore if Khonshu's not around. I don't know if they really address that, but it seems like, because even when he leaves, he tells Layla or Steven to tell Mark to come save him when he's all done. And I can see that being like a sticking point for that character, where this whole time he's wanted Khonshu to leave him, but at the end, when he's finally resolved everything, he just goes back and frees him, because that's just such a part of who he is now that he kind of needs that influence, or kind of doesn't know what life would be like without it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Teddy was wondering on the last review moving forward in the MCU, would Khonshu just be a presence? You know, if they have a big conflict to resolve, does Khonshu show up? So I wonder if we do see him freed, or if that's something where they do keep him locked away. And it was, you know, for a time, Mark had these supernatural abilities, but now he doesn't. The gods are real, but he's not supernatural. He was just borrowing that power. But you see him when he's not necessarily using that power, when he's dressed in street clothes, that he's still a very capable fighter. So I think I'm already looking ahead for this character, that there could be avenues to explore the vigilante side of Moon Knight, where he is working the streets, where it's not a story that's spanning the entire globe, where it doesn't involve the gods, where it is really just a story taking place within his own head. Mm-hmm. But those aspects have been very, very strong. And episode 4 apparently is an absolute thrill ride.
We're due for like a good twist and turn with this story. It just feels like that's where it's going. So, yeah, that's what everyone's saying. And I'm just interested to see what that turn is.
What do you think about the suit, though? Do you like it?
I wish it was more. I wish it was practical.
Me too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are screenshots from before they added the CGI, and I thought that suit looked great. Mm-hmm. It was leaks from, I think, months before the trailer had come out, or maybe weeks before the trailer had come out. But I don't know why they feel the need to touch it up with CGI.
It kind of just makes it stick out a little more.
Yeah.
I think if the suit was just straight up practical, I think it adds an element of, and more like, I think, not only just aesthetically, but just intrigue in terms of like what is actually happening. Is that his suit? Does he have it under? Does he just put it on? Or is it just, because it just makes it feel like it's, obviously it's, I don't know, it just makes it feel like a little fake. And
yeah, I said on the last review, it doesn't feel like I can reach out and touch it.
Yeah.
So when he's in that suit, I just don't believe that it's Oscar Isaac in that suit.
No.
And I think that does add to a show, because he is supposed to be a human character, being a superhero. You know, there's limitations that come with that. The fragility of being just a normal person. And obviously he seems to have some supernatural abilities there. But I also wish that was something that they would explain further, you know, instead of it just kind of happening and manifesting. I think that would have been a more interesting way to approach it, you know, seeing how he started this relationship with Khonshu, instead of doing this sort of mystery box type of situation. I guess that all kind of goes together with the multiple personalities, you know. We still, at this point, they can flip everything, mm-hmm. and we can have a totally new perspective on this show and watch it through a totally new lens. And I imagine there are so many things that we're missing, Easter eggs that other people are picking up.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think at this point, though, it's like, and obviously everything could change next episode or throughout the season, but I feel like it's pretty much, they're telling us what it is. Like, yeah, he's crazy, but like, this is actually happening.
Okay.
Whereas like the comic I read, where you really don't know what the hell is going on, and you don't know who to believe, and you don't know, like, that, the internal struggle of what's going on and the outside perspective seems to be very much what it is. And
you know why I want it not to be? Because it feels all too predictable up
mm-hmm.
until this point. Like when they summon Harrow to the court, you know that what's going to happen, that they're not going to find him guilty, even though he's so obvious. There's no further investigation into why he's in Egypt. He's looking for Amet's tomb. It's, coincidence. Oh, well, I can't vacation in Egypt?
Very lazy for gods.
Yeah, no, they're just it's the DMV, but for Egyptian gods. They've really just fallen off, I guess.
You're implying the DMV was ever on top.
Yeah, there was a point in time where the DMV was just in its golden period. You walk in, walk out, 5 minutes.
Like airplanes, like, I got to put my best suit on and go into the DMV today.
Smoke a nice cigarette. Take the family.
I used to love going to the DMV when I was a kid, though, because there was a KFC next door. My mom would bring me in. Give me some chicken.
What, just to look? Oh. You said it bring me in. Like, look, honey, look at all the families who can afford chicken. Like, she'd get me some, you know?
No, you're not. I'll eat your chicken.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my little treat for being such a
patient boy for spending 7 hours at the DMV.
Yep.
Fucking starving. That's why you got the KFC. This is the closest possible meal. But like I said, when Harrow shows up, you know how it's going to go. And even Khonshu taking over his body.
That was weird.
He is the one who is the one. This is such an annoying bit.
Yeah.
But you knew what was going to happen. Like, he wasn't going to be found guilty because it's only episode 3. And it's just frustrating. It feels like they are dragging out a movie.
I mean, from like the Twitter, like seeing what people are talking about. A lot of people, like, I think this is like top tier Marvel show, like the best one they've put out so far. Obviously, you got to wait for its conclusion before I make any judgments on that. I think so far, I think
I can't put this over Wand. I think people sleep on WandaVision, man.
I think so too.
I don't
WandaVision is still ahead. I'd put it on the same level maybe as some of the others, like kind of trending in the same area, but I still think WandaVision is the best thing they've done.
Yeah, and I think even 3 episodes into Loki, I was more invested into what was happening there.
Yeah, because I think Loki just had so much more universal impact, like in terms of the MCU, where this doesn't really have that yet.
Well, I love the character of Moon Knight, so I guess for me, I'm happy to see that so many people are enjoying it, and I want him to play a larger role in the MCU moving forward. But I think it was bad for me to reread some of those Moon Knight comics before, because now I just kind of want to see those stories, and that's unfair, I guess, because this is I think so far it's been a decent interpretation of the character. It's definitely keeping within the essence of the character, where it doesn't feel like they're changing too much. But even the comments they said that we're trying to distinguish from Batman. Yeah, sometimes it's all right to just be a little like Batman, you know?
I mean, he did that glide move.
Did that
straight
glide
out of the
move.
Batman handbook.
Yeah, no, he was fighting a bit like Batman in this one. But, I just watched the warehouse scene from Batman v Superman. That's a fight scene, Come on. And this guy, Moon Knight's out there killing, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's straight up killing people, right?
Yeah.
So throw some fucking crates at people,
Yeah, and like a lot of his weaponry, too, is supernatural.
Yeah, but, he straight up got batarangs. Anime has no problem copying. That's what I love about anime. They're like, one show has a cool character, we're all going to do that. But with comics, it's like, they've been doing it for years when it comes to the actual comic books. But on screen, they're always like, we need to differentiate Miss Marvel from Mr. Fantastic. Why not? Make them both stretchy.
I've never had a problem with multiple stretchers.
The MCU having a Batman presence, to me, is something that's awesome. So I hope he does kind of get it under control here a bit. And gets back to the streets.
Yeah, maybe it happens where he doesn't go back to Khonshu, but he still dons his own suit, Moon Knight suit.
I think that's how it's definitely going to end.
Yeah.
Where it's the Khonshu stuff is going to be, they're going to wrap that up, and he's just going to be Moon Knight. A lot of people are guessing that Blade is going to show up at the end of this with Jon Snow. You remember Eternals?
Kind of.
Yeah.
That was on Harry Styles, right?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, holy shit, yeah.
His weird little
Sounds
friends.
like a joke when you say it. When it comes to where they're moving this story, I think Teddy really made a good point last week that he felt like the first 2 episodes could have been 1 episode. And even this episode feels like this all could have been 1 movie. It really does feel like a movie for me, and I think that the MCU shows have had this problem. The first one that really stuck out was the Captain America show, where it's like, they're just pausing this. Just keep moving it forward. WandaVision was episodic.
Yes.
And Loki, I think so too. But yeah, I'm way more excited for episode 4 than any other episode so far because of what people have been teasing about it. But I don't know. Any last thoughts, Aaron? You think I'm going to get killed in the comments?
Yeah, I think you hate Moon Knight. You hate Oscar Isaac.
I love Oscar Isaac. You hate Oscar Isaac.
Since when?
I once called him the best actor of his generation, and
that was absurd.
You scoffed. Is he not proving it? He's on a good run.
I still don't know if it's a good English accent or not. So,
those are oftentimes the best accents.
If people tell me it's spot on, then maybe I'll give them some credit. Right now, I think it's great, but...
Top 5 of his generation? Jesus Christ.
Well, what generation are we talking? Are we going back since he first started until now?
Why did you just have a Boston accent there? Started?
Something? You're upsetting me.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week for Moon Knight.
Wow, we hate Marvel. Had to come at some point.